Helen Yee here with Eyes on the Game, and I'm here being joined by Kevin Newman. Now, it was just announced your Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame's Male Prospect of the Year. Congratulations. How does that honor feel?
I mean, it's a great honor. I mean, there's a lot of, talented fighters in Vegas, in Nevada, and for them to choose me, it's a blessing and it's an honor for sure.
Now, you've only been pro for a bit less than 3 years. I know you started September 2014. I mean, can you kind of tell your fans a bit about the journey and what it's been like so far for you?
Well, obviously, it's been tough. Nothing about boxing is easy. Boxing is a tough sport, mentally and physically, so it has its ups and downs. I'm thankful to have, more ups than downs, so, that's a blessing itself. Without the injuries, I've been having my career's been progressing pretty good.
And it has been progressing pretty quickly. And I mean, kind of like to get that honor and to get it so soon, like I said, I mean, it hasn't even been 3 years for you. Yeah. Is this all kind of part of the plan, when you first turned pro, that to have all this attention and eyes on you so soon?
Well, I've had eyes on me, for a while, and I just kind of tend to just block it out and don't let it get to me. I just continue to work hard, I don't, whatever I do, it doesn't make me big-headed or, surprise me or anything like that because I put in the work, so I know it comes with, putting in the work. And, it's just all just a blessing, that's it.
And being undefeated, I mean, what motivates you and what gets you motivated to go out and train every day?
Just me, the loving to win, loving the sport of boxing, and knowing that how far I can go, as long as I don't take any shortcuts or cheat the grind, and of course, my kids are motivation, wanting to be successful, wanting to be world champion, just winning itself, I find the motivation in everything, you'd be surprised, and so that's really my motivation. Is just I find little things. Someone may say something, okay, I'm motivated off that, I may think of something in my head, I find motivation off that, so that's where I get my motivation from. So
where do you see yourself, say, 1 year from now?
1 year from now, I plan on ending this year, 9 or 10, hopefully 10-0, and then this time next year, hopefully, we're around like, maybe 15-0, 15-0. I feel like that's, ideal. I feel like I could get that done, and and then that's right in, where you're starting to go towards that contender stage. By the time you're 20-0, you're basically, you should be at a contender stage. So, just taking it step by step, not rushing anything, just trusting the process.
And has Floyd kind of helped you or guide you through, this process so far?
Well, Floyd always, I wouldn't say he's always helping me, whether, where we just have words, he's just a very positive guy, so I mean, he does stuff behind the scenes as well as, Leonard Ellerby, DeJuan Blake, they take care of stuff behind the scenes. They just leave it up to us to go out there and perform, and to get the job done, so Floyd always, he always has positive things to say to me, and, I always, take heed of that, and I don't, take it for granted.
And you're coming off a TKO victory over Pablo Velez in April. You're fighting this month. Crazy how time flies. It's already August the 22nd at Sam's Town. Do you know your opponent yet?
I'm hearing, the last I heard, I'm supposed to fight a guy named Marcos Hernandez. He's 9-1 with 2 KOs. He's a decent fighter. So I mean, it's a good fight for me, and I'm looking to go out there and put on a dominant performance. And put on a great show.
And how is this camp going?
This camp has been, it's going good. I mean, this has been my toughest camp. Not from a mental standpoint, just from, just little things, but I'm pushing through it. And, and it's just, boxing is never easy. Like I said, you're always going to have, little things that go on, but I've been putting in the work and I've been working hard and I'm seeing the positive results, so, with that being said, camp is going like camp as it should be, and I'm going into the fight, I'm going to be well prepared.
But does it make it tough sometimes where you may not know who your opponent is up until maybe a week or two before?
I mean, yeah, but I've been in that position, since I turned professional, so I mean, now I'm just used to it. You know, you just kind of roll with it. You know, and it's no different from the amateurs. You know, at times, you know, the amateurs you don't, you know, sometimes you don't know who you're fighting until the day of. You know, when you're in the tournament, you know, it's a draw. So you don't exactly know who you're fighting, you know, until the day of. So, you know, you just got to be prepared, and I'm prepared.
And lastly, to kind of, you know, within this next year to get to where you want to be or to that contender stage, are there any opponents in mind that you would like to fight?
You know, I always keep, you know, I've been asked that question before. You know, I always keep my eyes open for all the guys, you know, in the 160-pound weight division, even around it, you know, because, you know, guys move up, guys move down, you know. So I just, you know, I just peep things, you know, and I want to, obviously, if you want to be the best, you have to fight the best, you know. So climbing up the stage, you know, I'm looking forward to fighting, you know, the best that they got out there.
And what would you like to tell your fans and supporters?
Just continue to, you know, continue to follow me, you know, continue to, you know, look out for me, support me, and you know, I'm gonna do my thing in the sport of boxing, you know, and I'm gonna put on great performances, so, you know, you guys can look forward to that.